so what if I just like did that and then just didn't say anything? Like how long would I have to just sort of look into the ether quietly?
About that long.
About that long, thank you, Chef. Cool. So now that we've kind of established the primary principles of the elbow escape and the primary principles of the trap and roll, I want to talk for a moment about how these things intersect and kind of connect to each other, like this. This connection is being made. So there's a real basic binary that is created when you toggle the elbow escape and trap it, right? We've established that for him, so can I get you on top of an invisible opponent in the mouth? For him to prevent himself from getting elbow escaped, traditionally his methodology will be to pinch his knees together and put his weight in his hands, right? Which leaves him susceptible to the trap. Well, guys, if I were to tell you, so John, just be now, be cool. That's pretty cool. If I were to tell you that I was going to try to just roll John over like a log for the sake of argument, and assuming he's not allowed to move his hands because we took his hands away, what would he use to widen his base?
His knee.
His knees, right? So you widen your knees, right? So now if I try to push him over, it's going to be harder to move. Well, guys, if I were in between that, and the thing that he did to prevent my elbow from getting on the inside was pinch his knees together, and then he just opened his knees to prevent me from rolling him over, what can I then fit inside of there? My elbow. Right. So guys, we facilitate like a really simple toggle with this if we're, and there's going to be like a really important conceptual note or a really more tactical note in a minute, but just on a really basic mechanical level, if I get you on top, it's like, again, if we think about the principle of if I make his hands post, okay, I start working my elbow escape right, he pinches down, trap, and I'm ready to go. Well, if he widens his base to not get trap and rolled, right, like you widen, right, now I'm in there. You guys see that? Like it's literally the same physiological transition as far as my body mechanics. It's just putting this in context of what he's doing. Now, there's one thing I want to make a big note of, and I'll show, actually, let me go over the mechanics of that real fast, just for anybody who wasn't here last week, just in case, I don't want to lose the group. So again, we go for our trap and roll that we did, whatever. Let's say I even get the arm, blah, 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 and he widens his base to not get trap and rolled. So, at this point, I'm just going to turn my hips over so that I'm kind of on my side. My elbow wedge is on the inside, and then I'm trying to connect my knee to my elbow. Right? I can also utilize this, we'll go to the other side. I can also utilize this. If I'm here, he widens his base. I can even use the same principle to work the pant leg variation. It's a little bit less like 1-to-1 ratio as far as applicability, but it's still, the wider his leg gets away from his body, the less weight he's putting on it. So it's pretty simple. Now, the important nuance here that I think is like the most critical thing to grasp is where a lot of people lose their mount escapes, and really escapes in general, but we're talking about the mount, is they'll go for one, the person will defend, then they stop. Then they go for another, and the person defends, and then they stop. And they go for another, and the person defends, and then they stop. And it's kind of like this, it's kind of like up and down kind of thing. You're burning a lot of energy that way, you're wasting a lot of time that way. What I want to think about is once I launch one escape, I'm escaping. I'm like, the second I feel like I'm in a formidable enough position that I could potentially get out of this position, then by all accounts, I should be in a formidable enough position to escape in some other way, depending on how they react to that. Does that make sense? Like, in the sense that if he was already out of position enough that I could use an elbow escape, regardless of how he responds to that elbow escape, he should still be out of position enough for me to do some other transition. It's not like he's going to block the elbow escape all the way to a high mount or something. He's going to block the elbow escape to a thing that will facilitate me getting another thing. Does that make sense, guys? Do you see where I'm coming from? So the big thing I want you guys to work on in this next just set of drilling is don't stress the mechanics, especially for those of you that weren't here last week for the elbow escape. I assume so. Most of y'all have at least an elbow escape. Launch your escape. Your partner's going to lightly try to defend, and like once you launch the first one, you do not stop launching your escapes. Okay? Find the opening. If I'm here, Okay, we're tussling. He was postured up, right? We want to try and he takes, maybe take that arm away. I'm going, cool, okay, but you don't want that. You get that knee heavy, right? Okay, I'm trying to do the crank. He puts that knee back down. You know, once I start going, I keep going. I don't sit there and go, trap and roll. Ah, darn. Elbow escape. Ah, dang it. You know, also don't say that because that would be bad strategy. I feel like this guy's on the ropes. You see what I'm saying? So I want you guys to just take a few minutes. Like this is more of a conceptual note than a specific mechanical note. I mean, we went over the mechanics of the elbow escape. We went over the mechanics of the trap and roll. Connect the two. Connect the dots. If he blocks it one way, what's the next opening? Is it that they got their knee heavy to the floor in the quarter guard, in which case we do the little crank? Is it that they pinch their knees tight together, in which case I'm trapping the arm? Is it that they widen their base, in which case I'm elbow escaping, and so on and so forth? Does that all make sense, guys? Yeah? Yeah? Am I talking nonsense? Thank you, John. Appreciate that. All right, guys, let's turn that workout. 1, 2, 3.